Hi and welcome to Fun Swedish. Today's video is going to be about pronunciation because many of you have asked us to make a video about it. So here it comes. Today we're going to talk about the Swedish letter R, also known as R in English, and basically how you pronounce this in Swedish. You might already have noticed that it can be pronounced in very different ways. Sometimes it's very hard, sometimes it's very soft, and sometimes it's like a complete different letter. So we're now going to teach you all about the mysteries of the Swedish letter R. But before we start, I just want to mention that I'm going to teach you the Stockholm accent, which is where I come from. But there can be different variations of how you pronounce this letter. And like a typical Stockholmer, we don't know so much what's going on outside of Stockholm. So unfortunately, I can't teach you all the dialects. But what I can tell you is that there are more and that they are also correct. So let's start with the first rule. At least in Stockholm, most words that starts with an R and R are quite strong. You need to think R. This can be a little bit tricky for English speakers. This strong R happens if the word starts with an R. For example, in these three words: Ryssland, Russia, röd, red, rätt, right. You see, quite strong R's here. But if the R is followed by any of these combinations, then it sounds very silent, almost absent. Like, where did you go? It's gone. Let's look at some examples. We have, for example, the word bord, table. Here you can see the R, but it's very silent. So if the R is followed by a D, it's very silent. And something similar happens if it's followed by a T. For example, in this word, karta. Karta is how we say map, and also here the R is silent. And if the R is followed by an N, it's totally gone. For example, in this word, barn. Barn is how we say child or children. Also here we say the R, but we don't pronounce it. Same thing if the R is followed by an L. For example, in the word farlig, dangerous. Also here, the R is totally silent. But even if you don't pronounce the R in these combinations, you still kind of prepare your tongue to form an R, even if you don't say it. Let's practice again all these words with a silent R. Bord, karta, barn, farlig. Then we have some situations where the R sounds like a completely different letter. For example, listen to this. Anders, ursäkta, jag förstår inte. And this basically means, Anders, excuse me, I don't understand. Look at these words. We have Anders. Again, here you see an R, but you don't pronounce it like an R. We pronounce it like we're going to the library and saying this shh sound. Same thing with the word ursäkta. Also here we can see the R, but we say ursäkta. And also in the expression I don't understand. Jag förstår inte. Again, we see the R's, but we pronounce it like a sh sound. And this happens when we combine the R together with an S. Then it becomes this shh. So remember this. Anders, ursäkta, jag förstår inte. Some of our students have told us that they have mentioned this to Swedish people, that they do this sh sound with RS. And then some Swedish people have said, no, we don't, and just seconds after they have done it. Because sometimes Swedish people don't even realize they're making this sound. It's sometimes a bit hard to be self-aware. And now that you know this sh rule with RS, then you also know that the Swedish name Anders is not pronounced like this. It's pronounced like Anders. Let's move on to our second weird R sound. But before we do that, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done it yet. Moving on. Then we have this letter combination RG. When you see this, you should think that it should be pronounced like an English Y. For example, in the word berg. Berg is how we say mountain. And it's very tempting to want to say berg when you see this. But no. In Swedish, when we have RG, we pronounce it like a Y sound. So remember, you're going to say berg and not berg. Other words with this RG combination. Korg, basket. Torg, square. and borg, castle or fortress. In all these words, we need to say like j, not erg. And if you are a tennis fan, you might have heard about the Swedish tennis player Björn Borg. Yes, that's right. His name is Björn Borg and not Björn Borg. Remember that. Which name, if you translate it, means bear castle. Ooh, that's a scary name. Björn Borg. And in other situations, when the R is not followed by any of these strange cases, or if it's not in the beginning of the word, then the R sounds more normal. Somewhere in between. Not too strong, not too soft, a lagom R. For example, in the words parkering, parking, torka, dry, and bor, live. So hopefully you shouldn't have too much trouble with those words. And if you want to know more about pronunciation, then you should take our 100% beginners video course, where you will learn all the Swedish pronunciation rules and how to get started with your Swedish journey, learning how to make simple sentences and much more. I recommend you to really check it out, and the link is in the description below. Hej då!